Sometimes it can feel as if there is no light in the world. Sometimes it can feel that the seeds will never come up. But then we have the stories to remind us of the resilience of spirit. It was in the 1800s, dark days for Éire, famine biting at her shoulder, her people wounded on their knees with hungry bellies. These people who had been high kings of Ireland, who had instigated the Brehon laws, who had been an illuminating light in Europe at one time. In a little cottage on a Kerry peninsula, the O'Brien clan were having a conference. They decided that in order for the family to survive, that the healthy branch of the family must leave these shores, must go far away for the chance of a life. So they gathered all of their people and meagre possessions, and they took to the butter roads that stretched from Ventry all the way to Shandon Street in Cork. They came with hungry bellies, with rickety knees, and then onwards to Cove. On the day that they arrived, Mr. O'Brien, the head of the clan, could not bear to see his people leave. They arranged to have a little mini wake on the quays of Cove itself, and Mr. O'Brien, he walked up to the top of the headland, and looking over the edge, he could see what seemed to be a toy boat and the dots of his people throwing their arms around one another, whispering endearments to one another. Never forget, never forget. Bring our songs and our stories, the whispers went back and forth. And as that happened, a great well of sorrow began to build in the belly of Mr. O'Brien. And it seemed as if the weather itself began to mirror his feelings, for the wind began to rise over the Atlantic Ocean. He cried into the wind, "Oh, gortiach me, gortiach she'd me. Tá ocras arm, ocras an dawan, ocras ma anum, ocras mo crí, ocras mo curp," he said, crying into it all the rage and sadness of the hunger, the needless famine in Éire. And the wind took his words, not to drown them out, you understand, but to keep them safe, to hold them sacred. And Mr. O'Brien, on his last breath, said, "Cowria Clum, help me, help me." Then he fell into the warming, wet earth of Éire as his family boarded the coffin ship that would take them to America. The wind followed the ship across the great sea. She sang. When the wind came to America, she climbed the aspen trees and played there amongst the branches. La 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 ta ogris arum ogris andawen kauriag Cowriocling, Cowrioc, da 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 dum, da 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 dum, da 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 dum, da 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 dum. Grandfather Choctaw looked deep into the flame of his campfire, listening to the singing of the wind in the aspen tree with the beautiful foreign voices. "What is it trying to tell me?" he said. "What is it trying to tell me?" And as was his way, he took the beautiful song of the wind to sleep deep into his dreams. And there the ancestors, in the language of spirit, translated for him. "These people are starving," they said. "They are starving in their heads. They are starving in their hearts. They are starving in their body. But most of all, their hearts are heavy. Their faith is waning. You need to help them. Help them now." And then in front of him came the face of Mr. O'Brien, with his hollowed out cheeks and the eyes that had fallen back in his head from hunger. Da 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 dum. Da 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 dum. When Grandfather Choctaw woke up, he called his people. They were striking their camp yet again, for they were on the long trail of tears, being moved from their own lands to an unknown land far down the trail. He called his clan around and he told them of his dream. And they looked at him, and there was anger there and confusion. "Grandfather," they said, "do you see that man on the horse? He is from a place in Ireland called Cork. He kicked grandmother in the shoulder. She fell into the earth because she wasn't going fast enough. And you see that man further down the trail, walking along with his big stick. He has scared our children into silence. He is also from Ireland. You want us to help them?" Grandfather Choctaw went from person to person, looking deep into their eyes, saying nothing, allowing spirit to move in their hearts and their minds. And at the end he said, "If we do not treat these people differently, then how are we different? If we give them back what they give us, are we not the same?" His words landed heavily in the hearts of his people. And as they walked along the trail of tears, they came to a decision. They gathered everything they owned. It was a princely sum, around $180, enough to hire a ship and to fill it with corn and to send it to Ireland. That ship came into Ireland's deepest harbour, Cove in Cork. And that corn was distributed right throughout the island of Ireland. It fed many people, and it fed their faith, and it filled their hearts. And it still waves in the fields of Éire today, and we have never forgotten. In the year 2020, a call went out from the Hopi tribe and the Navajo tribe. "Our elders are in trouble. There is no room here. They are locked in houses with our children. There's no water. They need to go to the well for water. There's 4 shops for a territory the size of Ireland. We need help. First, one little email came in. Here's €10 and all my love. We have never forgotten. And the Navajo tribe said, why is there emails coming from Éire, from Ireland? And then one little love note turned into 2, turned into 3, turned into a stream and a river, and people kept saying the same thing. We are on Chlann, Céanna, the same tribe. We are here to help. We have never forgotten. A little story seed, a true spirit story to keep you going in the dark days of Samhain, for the spring is coming and we will sing again. Keep the faith.